Let's have a conversation about creating passive income as a producer. Now, I think it can be argued that there's no such thing as truly passive income, meaning like you don't have to do anything. I think to create any type of income, some level of work or money has to be required. So when I think of passive income from a producer's perspective, I like to think of it as income that can be created from me doing something one time, and then after I'm done doing that thing, money continues to be generated without me putting in any additional work or effort. Now, someone or something is putting in work at some point, behind the scenes. It's just not me, and I'm okay with that. So I like to let the music work for me. So let me explain this whole concept of doing something one time and then it continuing to pay me for the rest of my life without having to do it again. So I work in this space called sync licensing or music licensing. Is when you create music and then that music gets synchronized to picture. That can be TV, a TV show, commercial, movie, video games. Even though some video games is kind of weird because a lot of times you'll get like I'll get like an upfront fee for that, but not necessarily royalties. So I may not get paid again. So I wouldn't 100% count that as passive unless it's a special type of deal. But typical stuff, TV, film stuff, you can absolutely expect to get royalties. So this is what I do. Let's take my very first placement, for example. My very first placement was an orchestral hip-hop track that I produced that ended up getting placed on Thursday Night Football on the NFL Network. Right? I sat down for a few hours, created that song, and I pitched it to the publisher. Publisher liked it. They signed it, added it to their catalog, and then they began to do what they do best, which is exploit the master recording, exploit the copyright. So eventually that track got placed on the NFL Network. Then it got placed again on Fox Sports. Now, in order for it to get placed the second time on Fox Sports, I didn't have to do any additional work for that placement to happen. I still only spent those 3 hours initially creating the music. Once I pitch it, once I send deliverables and stems, my job is pretty much done. Now the publisher is just out there sending it to their clients, and then their clients are using it, or their clients are coming to the publisher's website and they're searching for music based on keywords, moods, genres, lyrical content, things like that. So this music can live in a catalog and continue to be found over and over and over again and relicensed over and over and over again. Again, with me only spending 3 hours. So yes, I had to put in some work to create this track, right? That part wasn't quote unquote passive. That required some activity. But once that initial work is done, I can continue to earn royalties from that same track. And just from those 2 placements alone, I made like my first $600 in sync licensing. That's when the light bulb went off for me. I was just like, oh, bet. You mean to tell me I can spend 3 hours, make $600 in royalties, and it can continue to be licensed an unlimited amount of times, and I don't have to do any more additional work? Oh, like, I'm gonna multiply this. And that's when I went on the whole journey. I was just like, now I want to see if I can get 10 placements in a year. So imagine if I get 10 of those that just did the same thing at $600 each. I'm hitting $6,000 in a year. And that's like the power of sync licensing, is that you can sit down, you can do the work one time, and then you can leverage what you created during that time, leverage that into income for the rest of your life. And then you just continue to keep stacking and stacking and stacking. And then that can be really powerful. Now, when I was, gigging as a musician, let's take those same 3 hours. I don't even think, I know for a fact I've put way more than 3 hours into a gig when I account for time practicing the music for the set, time going to rehearsals if needed, time traveling to wherever the rehearsals were, time traveling to wherever the gig is, time setting up, breaking down, then time actually doing the gig, which could be 3 hours in itself. The crazy thing is, I used to spend all those hours on that gig, usually playing music that I don't even own. So I'm not even getting performance royalties from it. I spent way more hours doing that and only got paid one time doing live gigs. So the only other way for me to make more money was to do more gigs and exchange more time for money. And I wanted to get out of that. And it was cool, like, it was fun. It's where I honed my skills, my musicianship as a keyboardist. I'm grateful for that, and I wouldn't change that because it helped develop me as a musician and a producer. And I wouldn't be where I am today without that season in my life. But I had to make a shift, especially once I experienced that first placement, and the weighing the time I spent doing that versus the gigs. I was just like, okay, it's going to make more sense for me to put the same amount of hours I would put in the live gigs, now put that into sync licensing, into something that I could put 6-9 hours into and know those 6 or 9 hours are going to continue to pay me long after I've done the work. I think it's smart to shift and start doing more of that and spending more of my time doing that, because now it feels more like, it doesn't feel like I'm spending time. Now it feels like I'm investing time because I can get a return on that. At some point the live gig started feeling like just spending on just consumer stuff that is not going to make me any more money. That's it's just spending spending with no return. Now the time I spent, man, it just feels more like an investment. So that's why I'm always preaching sync licensing and why producers need to learn how to get their music placed in TV and film. If you want to learn the steps that I took to get that first TV placement on the NFL Network and Fox Sports, so on and so forth, download my free Sync Producer Quick Start Guide. The link is in the description. I'll pin it in the comments as well. Download that, follow those steps, and see if it works for you. It may be a good opportunity. It may not. I don't know, but I think you should at least try it. All right, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.